Let's get started. So 3 keys to empower you beyond breast cancer. I'm your host, Katie Rampin, and I'll tell you a little bit more about me in a second. So not a secret what these 3 keys are, but as I see them, they are knowledge, learning to advocate for yourself, and getting the proper support. And so we're gonna break all of these down. Oh, I heard the bell, but I don't see. Okay. Anyway, then let's go. Oops. Okay. So I get to read you this lovely disclaimer because, because we live in a legal world, what can I say? But I want you to know that this webinar is presented for educational and support purposes only. It's not intended to diagnose or prescribe for any medical or psychological condition, nor to prevent, treat, mitigate, or cure such condition. The information you receive is not intended to replace a one-on-one relationship with a doctor or qualified healthcare professional. So this is where I like to say I'm not a doctor and I don't even play one on TV. However, what this is it's not medical advice, but it is rather a sharing of knowledge and information based on research and experience. And yes, evidence-based research. I don't bring forth anything that, to these presentations that I haven't seriously vetted myself. But I do encourage you to make your own healthcare decisions based on your judgment and research in partnership with a qualified healthcare professional. Okay. And I know your time is valuable, so, but I also want to say so is your health. So I do ask that you please turn off, yes, all of your devices. I know it's so hard, to give yourself the present of being present for the next hour or so, right? It is my intention that you will be empowered after this masterclass. And I also want to just let you know how this will go, because some people get nervous or whatever. I will be making an offer toward the end and how you can go deeper, join my course, work with me, if you want to. And of course, there'll be time to answer all your questions if they're not answered during the presentation. Okay, so am I in the right place? Should I be on this webinar? Yes, you are in the right place. If any of these things apply to you, if you've ever been on any of my websites, you've probably seen this list. You want to figure out how to get the best protocols faster and easier so that you can get back to fulfilling your purpose in life. You feel alone and unsupported. You wish you had a community of like-minded women. You're tired of having your doctors dismiss you, not listen to you, not understand you. You're not sure what to do next. You want to help. You want help integrating natural therapies and conventional treatments. You want to know how to be healthy now in the future. You're worried about a recurrence and you want to do everything in your power to prevent it. You're maybe suffering through current treatments right now, and you're just waiting. You're in this I want my life to be normal, what it was before you were diagnosed. You're ready to have your voice and opinions heard. And my favorite, you don't just want to survive, you want to thrive. I think we all want that. So who am I and why should you listen to me? Well, I am the proud mother of 2 teenagers. I was diagnosed originally back in 2012, and that's kind of where my story took a big change in the road. I was diagnosed at the time with DCIS, which stands for ductal carcinoma in situ. So basically, and infiltrating ductal carcinoma. But basically that's considered stage 0, right? So woohoo, you think, great. But it was such to the extent that still the recommendation for me was, and when I say recommendation, it was more like, you have to do this, was for a double mastectomy. And then they had said, if I did a double mastectomy, I would be done, no other treatments. But then after they got the pathology back, they were like, oh, wait, no, you have to go on tamoxifen. And I'll get more into that later, but I will just say that, so I did do 3.5 years of tamoxifen therapy. And then I went off of it partly because of how I was reacting to it and partly because of the research I did in tamoxifen, but I'll explain that a little bit later. So then in 2018, so basically that led me down a path because if any of you have ever had breast cancer, what you start to do is you start to research a little bit, but you're usually thrown into the fire and you have a very, they're pushing you to be on the surgery, on the, operating table tomorrow. So they don't really, at least in my day, they didn't give me a chance to really do a lot of research. They were just kind of like, this is what you need to do. So I kind of backed up, and then I did the research, right? Kind of after I got through my initial treatments, I started researching, and wow, mind blown. I will just say, the more I dug, the more I was like, why is this information not out there? Why do, well, I kind of understand why now. It's money, right? Is why, but which is the sad reality of it. But anyway, there's so much that out there that I didn't know. And I was like, I've got to share this with people. So I founded Katie's Healthy Families with a mission to educate and empower families to live healthier lives and avoid illness, because like the root of all diseases is very similar, even though, we have all these different diseases in the world. So then, interestingly enough, I had decided early 2020, I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to niche down. This is my hero story. I am a breast cancer survivor. I think I just want to help women with breast cancer, and specifically even avoid breast cancer. So then it was really odd. I literally made that decision. I started in this slide, you can see Kicking Breast Cancer with Katie. And I actually even thought when I picked the name, ooh, I wonder if I could use this name because I'm not currently going through breast cancer. I've already gone through it. And then lo and behold, I was diagnosed with my second breast cancer in March of 2020. That was an invasive grade 3 tumor. And the way that has been treated over the last 2 years is I had a lumpectomy. I had to do Lupron, which puts you into menopause, so medical menopause. And then I've gone on and off aromatase inhibitors, which I'll also talk about more later. But anyway, that led me to founding Kicking Breast Cancer with Katie in 2020 to support women healing their breast cancer, and more importantly, to preventing recurrence. And really, if you're on this call, to preventing it in the first place. So then in 2021, I created my course, Breast Health Empowerment Circle, because again, it was like I had so much information and I wanted to boil it down, the best and brightest. All right. So what I'd like to know now, this is audience participation part. I'd love for you to put in the chat, what stage of your healing journey are you in? Are you A, did you recently diagnosed? B, currently in treatment? C, remission, i.e. no evidence disease at the moment? Or D, you've never had breast cancer, but you just want to prevent it? That way, and I could see if I can see over here. I just love to know where everyone's at. Cool. I see a D, a B, an A, a D. Okay, awesome. Cool. Yay. So great. We have people in all different areas. Okay, lovely. So let's get to the first key. Okay, the first key is knowledge. I want you to, here's the thing about knowledge. When you get breast cancer or whatever, you may not know a lot about breast cancer. So, but now you know that, right? I don't know a lot about breast cancer, right? Or cancer. So you might start researching it. But kind of a lot of the things that I discover fall in this category of what you don't know that you don't know. Like you think you know it, right? You think you know that, oh, this can't hurt me because why would it be on the market, right? We have things in place to prevent that, right? In other words, we've got the CDC, we've got the FDA, we've got all these things, so they wouldn't allow products on the market, right, that would hurt us, right? Wrong. Okay, so there was those kind of things. And then also well, I'll get more into that, but so there are basically, I came up with 3 things that you need to know to prevent recurrence. And what I want to jump into now is let's go ahead and bust some of those cancer myths of things that I didn't know, yada yada. Okay, so the first one, this one was a big one for me. There is this sort of, I don't know how it even got out there, but this is an assumption out there that breast cancer is genetic, that most breast cancer is genetic. Actually, that's not true. Breast cancer is less than 10% genetic. And I've seen even lower numbers, but let's just be safe and say that 10% is. Now, with that comes some good news, bad news. I see it as very empowering, but some people, there's some negative to it. The good news is that I want to tell you is, even if breast cancer runs in your family, it does not mean that you will get it, right? Because of something called epigenetics, which I'm going to share with you in a second. However, it also means that just because it doesn't run in your family does not mean that you won't get it, right? There are a lot of people with their head in the sand that are like, oh, it's genetic, right? So it doesn't run in my family, so I'm not going to get it, right? And then they're really surprised, like, wait, why did I get breast cancer? And then vice versa, there are people that are so afraid, that it runs in their family, that they do things prophylactically and whatnot. So, which again is always up to every woman what they decide to do. But I want to tell you, even if it runs in your family, don't freak out. It doesn't mean you're going to get it. So let's look at what epigenetics is. Epigenetics is the study of how your behaviors and the environment can cause changes that affect the way your genes work. So we know you can't change your DNA, right? That's set in stone. But what's really great about science is they discovered that your genes can be turned on or turned off. And the key is learning how to downregulate or turn off the bad genes and upregulate or turn on the good ones. Okay, so then of course your question is, how do we do this? Oh, well, I guess I come back to that later, but we'll get into that. But basically that's your lifestyle and environment is how you do that. So what is your risk? What is your current risk? Now, I won't sugarcoat it. If you have had breast cancer, then you're definitely at risk of developing a new or recurrent breast cancer. I really want to get this message home. There really is truly no cure to breast cancer. It's really a lifelong journey. What really hurts me is when, women think, okay, whatever method you want to choose, whether you go conventional or alternative or a combination of the two, the attitude is, kind of the Western medicine. I'll just take a pill, or I'll do a surgery, or I'll do this. I'll do these treatments and then I'll be done. I'll go back to my life and I'll be fine. Yeah, no, because as with any disease, you need to find out what is the root of what may have caused that disease, and then not just treat the symptoms, but actually get at the cause, right? I hope that makes sense. But really, even in my case, even with what I realized, you could say, well, you were already a health coach. Why did you get breast cancer again? Well, it's a big, huge puzzle. And I have all these steps, and I wasn't doing all of my steps. And one of the big steps I left out was the mind. And we'll talk more about the mind-body connection. But the emotional components of it, I was in a toxic relationship, which I had to end. And so my second breast cancer was somebody knocking on the door telling me, you got to do something about this, right? Like, okay, you're doing these things, great, but there was more for me to do. Now, this is another big one. I want to tell you what the safest way is to monitor your breast health. So number one way I like to say is with self-exams, okay? Because first of all, once you get to know your breast, no one will know your breast like you do. And there are 365 days of the year. Even if you go, all right, now we're back. Okay, sorry about that. At any rate, yes. So yes, your gynecologist might check your breasts or whatnot, say you're fine. And then literally like 30 days later, something could develop. I found my second breast cancer. I was being seen by my gynecologist every 6 months. And I found mine, just like a month before I was due to see her. And it was big enough for me to find it. So that was kind of like, what? So what I recommend, and there'll be another screen on this, I recommend something called My Breast Friend. Oh, can you see it there? Well, I'll show you this, but this is one way you can learn how to examine your breast. This little device I have is a silicone boob with different size lumps in it at different levels. And basically you teach yourself, this is what's used by nurses and stuff to actually learn how to detect breast cancer in women. And what you want to do is you want to find it small, right? So basically, there are different sizes, but with this, you can detect it, less than 0.5 of a centimeter. And normally you can only detect it when it's a centimeter above, but obviously the smaller you can detect it, the better. So, but this is something they used to tell women a long time ago. They used to be like, you know, make sure you check your breasts every month in the shower. If you're still going through your cycle, you do it usually like right after your period. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter. You just do it when you remember it, you know, once a month or whatever. So, but the second thing I recommend is yearly checkups with your gynecologist. Then the next one I recommend are thermograms, which are, you know, one of those things that a lot of women don't know anything about. Basically, they're completely safe ways that detect your, basically your heat signature of what's going on. And so they can actually detect breast cancer far earlier than regular mammograms can detect it. The key is, though, they don't always detect it. Like everything else, it's best to have a baseline, like to see that there's no activity. But basically what it shows up on is it just shows there's some activity there. And then you would need to get further testing. It's never going to tell you definitively if you have breast cancer, but it might show there's some activity there, because the first thing that happens when a breast cancer starts to form is it needs to get a lot of fuel, right? And so it takes a lot of blood flow. So there's a lot of blood flow to the area that shows up on a thermogram. So it's a safe way. And actually it's less expensive than a mammogram, except here's the kicker: insurance doesn't cover it. So there's that. So yeah, it's less expensive than, you know, but what, you know, I just hate that, right? It's like we don't have a choice of what we do because of insurance. It's so annoying. But anyway, I would look into them. They're safer. The next safest thing, because I did these in order of safety, are ultrasounds. Ultrasounds, you know, use sonic waves. Super safe, super great. They're often used after they think you might have breast cancer, then they bring them. So sometimes it's hard to get them to do one without the mammogram. They'll be like, well, you can have one after the mammogram. No. You want to try to just jump why don't do the mammogram? Just jump to the ultrasound if you can. This goes into the advocating, and I get it. It's not easy, but okay. So then we get to mammograms. I'm not against mammograms 100%. They are a useful tool. Here's the thing. They need to be used judiciously. And I have a chart to share with you. It's here on the screen. I'm going to try to put it in the chat. Here we go. Everyone. Let's see if this works. Can I do this? Yes, I think I did. Okay, so that's a link to this chart. I'd love you guys to all check it out. I love this chart. It's, I think, a CDC chart or whatever, but basically, oops, I gotta move the chat. Yeah, it shows all the different recommendations from different organizations and what age they recommend and under what thing. So again, here it's individualized medicine. Not everyone should get one every year, and because that's a lot of radiation, right? And mammograms can actually cause breast cancer. Oh my God, what a concept, right? So you don't want to get in that position. And then there's also things about smashing the breast and stuff. If you have breast cancer, not so great to smash it and then maybe, spread it. So the last way to monitor your breast health would be an MRI. You wouldn't normally do that unless you are already, you've had breast cancer. Then that would be, that might be a way you detect it. And certainly if you've ever had a breast reconstruction and now you have implants, you can't do a mammogram anyway. I advise you against it. You'll wreck your implants. Then you might need to do a mammogram. I say without contrast, if possible, in parentheses, because contrast is a whole nother thing. Contrast, or galadium, which they use, is again a toxin to the body. So, but if you're really trying to find out if you have breast cancer, they're usually going to recommend it. And so that's one of those. Then if you're going to have that procedure, you need to know how to manage it, which again, I usually, tell people how to do that. Okay, so here's the slide with my breast friend. That's the device I just showed you. You go to this link. I'm going to put this link in the chat now. And this is how you can you can order it. The page, it takes you to a page with information and whatnot. You don't have to sign up for anything. It says, you know, sign up here, whatever. You can just go directly to the shop page and buy one. You don't need to do all that stuff. Okay, so I alluded to this earlier, but this was also a big, like, mind blown that breast cancer screenings can cause future cancer. What? Like, oh my God, does that make sense? So what I put here is, again, tests are necessary sometimes, but you want to weigh the pros and the cons. You don't just want to go willy-nilly and test like crazy. Here's the order in terms of how much radiation are in these tests. Now, bone density scans, the good news about that, like if you are gonna go on an aromatase inhibitor, it's really good idea to get a bone density scan before you do that, because you want to see where your bones are at, because an AI is going to affect your bones, and a lot of times it causes osteoporosis, osteopenia, which is very dangerous and debilitating. So the good news is, like, a bone density scan doesn't have a lot of radiation, so there's something where the you know, it's more effective to get it, so you have that information, than to not do it. The next thing are x-rays, and again, if you need them, just like, you know, you have to get your dental x-rays every now and then, but you don't want to be doing them all the time. Mammograms, again, that's the next level. And now there's these new 3D mammograms, which sound great. I think they're especially for dense breasts, except guess what? There's more radiation with them. Yeah, I know. So, you know, and they're more expensive. So yeah, not a great thing there. Then the next one I have is bone scans, right? Now that's going to be a lot more radiation. That's really if you really only want to do bone scans, PET scans, CT scans when, you know, they're worried about, is it metastatic? But those, you're going to really want to limit those. You want to limit your exposure to those, to that kind of radiation and those toxins. Okay, so now here's the next thing. Breast cancer treatments can cause cancer. Oh my gosh, again, like, what are we doing here, folks, right? So, okay, this one, you know, it's kind of a no-brainer, but if you've ever seen a room, you know, in a hospital with radiation or chemotherapy, whatnot, it has a skull and crossbones right on it, right? Because those things are treacherous for, I mean, I feel for the people that work there. They are toxins, right? So radiation and chemotherapy, you've got to just know that that's a possibility there. So you got to, again, the good news is, this is, again, I think I'm already going way long. I got to hurry up, but there's so much, but basically, now, okay, now I even lost where I was going with that. But anyway, there's ways to figure out whether or not those two therapies are good for you. They can do testing, they can do oncotype testing and be like, oh, okay, in this case, it is a benefit or it isn't a benefit. So let's see if we get to, so then another thing that they often treat with are drug and hormone therapies. So I just listed some of the, I don't think I'll even like read all of these out loud, but you know, let's just leave it to say that tamoxifen and aromatase inhibitors do have a lot of negative side effects. I mentioned that I went off of tamoxifen. One of the possible side effects is it can cause endometrial cancer. So it kind of blocks the cancer in part of your body, but it actually, you know, can make it more so in other parts of your body. So to me, I was actually developing polyps in my uterus, and yeah. So anyway, they, you know, I didn't want to be getting cancer. Oh, someone was sending me a message. Anyway, so I decided to go off of it, but that's not to say it's not, you know, some women think it's a godsend and a wonderful drug. So everything is individual, but I just want you to know, if you're going into therapy, that this is the reality, because they don't usually tell you this stuff. I mean, they're supposed to, but if you look at even the insert packets on these stuff, you're like, oh my God, whoa. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Okay, and then, you know, and then I do have here at the bottom, since most breast cancers are estrogen positive, I would really caution any woman about hormone replacement therapy. I don't advise it. There is something called bioidentical or BHRT treatment that might be okay. That's kind of a natural way to deal with hot flashes and whatnot. But again, I will just come out and say, not in favor of birth control pills, not in favor of traditional hormone replacement therapies. I think you're really playing with fire. No pun intended for the for the hot flashes. Okay, but then here's another point. This is I mentioned this in my promo for tonight. Your hormones do not cause cancer, because some people then think, oh, I got to get rid of my hormones, they cause cancer. No, they don't cause cancer. If that were true, every woman on the planet would have breast cancer. However, why are we seeing this? Okay, that is true. Many cancers are fed by estrogen or estradiol. So what we need to be aware of are all the xenoestrogens, right? It's because we are getting bombarded with fake estrogens. So what are xenoestrogens? I got you the definition here. They are foreign estrogen substances that are close enough in molecular structure to estrogen that they can bind to estrogen receptor sites with potentially hazardous outcomes. Sources include plastics, pesticides, chemicals, and water systems. Yikes! So yeah, this is what we talk about. Well, every time I touch my thing, this is what we talk about, when I say, no plastic water bottles for more reason than one, right? So anyway, but I did the positive here is you can manage your estrogens naturally. Woohoo! So I love that, right? So there are other ways, and that's what a lot of women talk to me about. They're like, okay, they don't want to go on the drugs, so then what can I do instead? I'll just throw a few things out here really quick. Even things like flax seeds and mushrooms and fermented soy. So there are things that can act as an aromatase inhibitor. All right, so the third thing, and we're still on this first key. Okay, we're moving right along. Oh, we're okay. So the third thing that you need to know is lifestyle choices matter. And this is where the empowerment comes in. You absolutely can reduce your risk of breast cancer recurrence, and actually further your healing much faster, all of that with what I call my 7 simple steps. Here they are in a nutshell. Hopefully all of you have my little PDF document, which you can put on your refrigerator or whatever. I like to say it's my seven minute read or whatever. I made it really simple, right? Because I want you to be able to follow it. I don't want to give you 10,000 things that you can't do. But what you can do is you can be aware and drink plenty of clean water. In a nutshell, that means take half your body weight. So your body weight is obviously in pounds. You take half of that, divided by 2, and that's in ounces, how many you need a day. So now you know, and for me, like, here's my little water bottle. This is 20 ounces, right? So, okay, I need to drink, whatever, 3 or 4 of these a day minimum. And that, and then you just have that, you just carry it around the house. I have them in my car, there's all kinds of ways to do that. And it needs to be clean water, filtered and all that kind of stuff, or you need to know what's in your water, right? If you get it out of the tap, you need to know. And just because it's bottled, okay, I can't go off. I'd love to go off on all of these, but we'd be here all night. But I will just say, if it's bottled, does not mean it's clean and pure, right? They don't even test that stuff that they put in the bottles, right? So at least the stuff that comes out of your tap, you could find a report on it and know exactly what's in it. They don't test. There's no thing on the label that shows that this water has been passed and it's clean and pure. So that's number 1. Number 2 is eating clean food. And by that, I'll just limit really quickly to say non-GMO, preferably organic. If it's organic, it's non-GMO. GMO is genetically modified organisms. That's yet another conversation. But the point is, lots of clean foods. Eat the rainbow, lots of different colors. All the different colors means you're getting different substances. So again, super easy, but not so easy. But if it's not packaged, right, that's the other thing, like packaged food. I once did a comprehensive elimination diet. Woo, that was tough. But it was so good because it just showed me, like, basically there was nothing that came in a box, a can, anywhere in the middle of the grocery store that I could eat for those weeks. I basically had to make everything from scratch, and I couldn't even use the oils and everything. So if you really want to get super health conscious, it's tough, but it doesn't have to be, right? You can just make sure you're eating some whole plant-based foods every day, and we all do the best we can. All right, number 4, you get plenty of quality sleep. And it's not just, people think it's just quantity. It's not just quantity, it's also quality, right? So again, I'll talk a lot about that in terms of making sure you don't have electronics next to your bed. I have people that are like, oh, really? I have my cell phone, right next to my head in case someone comes. No, put it on airplane mode, right? You don't want that, like, you don't want anything disturbing your sleep. Your sleep is super important. That's when you regenerate. That's when you repair. That's also why intermittent fasting is kind of all the rage right now. It's not really all the rage, like some people are doing it for dieting, but really I do it for health. You need to have a minimum 12-hour span of time where your body is not digesting food. Because if you're digesting food all day long, you can't actually be healing. You can't be repairing your body, right? Your body's busy doing that. And not only that, if you're eating, your sugar goes up and insulin, and okay, there's all of that. So that's that in a nutshell. And again, I go into all of these in depth, in like super depth. This is like, we're talking the Titanic. I'm giving you the tip of the iceberg that we can see. Live in a clean home. This is another big one. And in my course, I literally walk you through room by room of your house, and we detoxify your house, because what you discover is, and this was another one of my big, like, oh my God, I had no idea I was surrounded. I'm like living in a toxic soup. But there's good news about that, because there's so many alternatives today, right? Like it's just incredible. It's not like this little tiny niche market or whatever. There's so many good products out there. And so you just need to be aware of them and just look for them. 6 is reduce stress and increase your happiness. There's lots of ways we can do this. I talk about things like mindfulness, a gratitude practice, meditation, yoga, breathing exercises, EFT, which is emotional freedom technique, is where if you've ever seen people tapping on their spots. All of these things help to reduce our stress. Stress is a natural part of living. We wouldn't be surviving if we didn't have stress. But most of us are stressed out 24/7. Not so good. Cortisol goes like crazy in the blood, makes us sick, and we just can't live that way anymore. So this is how people get sick. All right, and the last one, practice good hygiene. It's kind of a no-brainer, and yet actually, ironically, it's not, because maybe the pandemic and some other things taught us that maybe we weren't so great on our hygiene. And this includes dental care, right? Dental care is huge. Your mouth, if you've got stuff going on in your mouth, every meridian is linked, to your teeth in your mouth. And there's even one that's linked from the breast to certain teeth. So you got to make sure you don't have any, like, for instance, in the old days, they put in an amalgam filling that had silver and mercury in it. You do not want mercury anywhere in your mouth. Mercury is a very strong toxin. So get that out of your mouth. All right, let's move on to key number 2, advocate. All right, I put up here the noun of what it is to be an advocate, like I am an advocate for you, or, and also the verb to advocate, or to act as an advocate. But the main thing I really want to get across here is the best advocate for your health and well-being is you, right? So this is really what I got out of my journey, was that no one is going to take care of me at the end of the day but me, right? So, not your doctors, not your family, not anybody. So, but you also have to know what's possible. If you don't, if you don't ask, you don't get. So it's very crucial to your health. And I like to say every body is different, and every breast cancer journey is unique. So and everybody responds differently to treatments. So I really don't want you to get trapped into the limitations of standard of care, because I understand, I'm not saying anything against having it. You have to have in the medical establishment a standard of care, but I think we really need to move more toward individual medicine and, and a holistic approach, right? A whole mind body approach. And so I just want you to know that, because a lot of times, you're given a specific protocol or whatnot, and it's just, or this is the standard of care, just like they told me, well, this is your number. So of course you go on tamoxifen, right? But they don't actually dig deeper into it. So I don't want you to get stuck with just the standard of care. You can do better. And it's really important, super important, to trust your gut. It turns out your gut is actually your second brain. So it's important to follow your intuition when choosing a treatment path. And this, I just heard this again in a course I did just yesterday. I'm doing a how to reduce stress course, because this is what I do all the time. I do more to teach you guys more. But again, the evidence is like out there, scientific evidence. They used to think, oh, the mind was over here and the body was over here. And a lot of Western medicine treats us that way. But they're not, they're connected. The brain's like, it's really like, they really are connected. So, and as I said, your gut, that feeling you get, like that's actually your microbiome and all of that. They're discovering how powerful that is. So when you feel that something you're doing is going to work, I would argue it will work. And if you feel it's not going to work, it won't. So I know people that have done chemotherapy, for instance, and they visualize, that golden liquid coming into their veins and healing them and eating up all the cancer, like Pac-Man. That's great, right? But then on the other hand, if you're like scared to death of it, or you think it's a toxin or whatever, yeah, I would argue not going to work for you, right? Like you think you're going to get sick. I think you're going to get sick. So it's really important not to just say, oh, well, the doctor knows better and I don't know what I'm talking about here or whatever, right? So, and it's really just a powerful thing to know as well. And I will say, so here's my recommended reading. These are the top 3 books that I recommend all my clients to read. The first one is The Placebo Effect by Joe Dispenza. Again, like this guy has made a life out of turning what I would call the woo-woo into science, like not turning it into it. He has a science. Like I've read several of his books or listened to them, and they're not easy reading because there is so much science behind it. I just want to know, okay, does it work? It works, right? So that's really, really cool. But just that book, what he did, he basically healed himself. He healed a spine injury that was like, it's incredible what he did. And to that effect, Radical Remission by Kelly Turner is another one. That's such a great book for cancer. That was one that was recommended to me, and I didn't read it after my first journey. I wish I had, because if you ever don't think it's possible that you can heal, or that you have to do conventional treatment or whatever, read that book, right? Because it's incredible, the miracles, people stage 4, all kinds of cancers, and now they're totally fine. And I'm not saying they didn't just do anything, they didn't just wish it away. And the book actually examines that, like, what do they all have in common? What things did they all have in common? And a huge part of it, of course, was attitude, a positive attitude, something to live for, right? And then, of course, it was diet and all these other things. And then the last book is You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay, which she's great. I'm sure you guys have heard of Louise Hay, but if you haven't, again, she teaches a lot about self-love. And I would argue that's, again, a piece that was missing for me in my cancer coming back and whatnot, because I think that's a common thing. There's just not enough self-love going on. We're so hard on ourselves. But really it all starts with, starts with loving yourself. Okay. So what's the benefit of learning to advocate for yourself? Okay. I gave you guys a couple of case studies, just so you get an idea, like, well, what does that mean to be an advocate? So one woman, she needed she needed a biopsy, a client, and she was concerned about the pain during the procedure. So again, like, she just didn't even know all the different options, right? Like, you can actually shop around. She didn't, where she was going to go, they were going to give her no anesthesia, nothing. They basically just wanted her to grin and bear it. She's got fibromyalgia. It was not going to happen, right? I was like, oh, no, 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 no. I think you're going to be you're very unhappy with that. It's a very painful procedure. But so she was able to ask what she needed because she had worked with me, like, oh, she had heard now of, you know, what these different anesthesias were, right? I was like, well, is it general anesthesia or is it this? And she's like, oh, I don't know. But again, these are the things you don't, you know, if you don't know, how can you advocate? But she did advocate. So then she was able to find the place that would do the procedure with, I was about to say fentanyl. Now I can't, the word's not coming to my mind. Propofol. Anyway, so with the right medication for her, and, you know, so it makes a big difference, right? So she had a somewhat pleasant experience. I won't say it was 100% pleasant, but the next example, a woman was put on aromatase inhibitor, and she basically was super sick, right? Super sick. So what I did is, you know, let's back up. Let's get rid of everything, right? Just so you know, like, you can go on and off medication. You're not going to die tomorrow. You're not going to get breast cancer again tomorrow. You want to start off getting yourself feeling good, feel really good, feel really well. And then, you know, then what we did is we systematically tried her on 3 different ones. There are different alternatives, right? There's not just one. So basically, you know, when she stopped all the drugs, like, well, miraculously, she started feeling better. So again, that's something we need to look at, right? Your quality of life versus the fear of, say, breast cancer coming back in the future. I would argue your quality of life right here, right now is worth something. You know, not to say you shouldn't, if you can have both, great, right? If you can, I know lots of people that are on these drugs and they're like, I never have any side effects. I feel fine. Wonderful. So then for you, it's a no-brainer, but it's not always that way. The last example, kind of a scary one, not really, but a woman who was in my group, she had surgery, and she didn't feel right afterwards. And the nurses all dismissed her and said, you know, she's fine, everything was normal. But, you know, she had this little thing in the back of her head that said, you know, I think something's wrong. And she trusted her gut, and she said, you know, basically demanded that the doctor be called. And as it turned out, she needed emergency surgery. Now she was fine, whatnot, but I just hate to think of if she hadn't advocated for herself, right? Like, I don't know, like, had she not been in the group, I don't know, she might have just been not said anything. And then, so it's just, again, you just need to know that you want to do that. Okay. And then this slide is just a simplistic slide of what kind of healing team you need. You really important with breast cancer. They say it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a really great healing team to heal from breast cancer. So you probably need a gynecologist, an oncologist. You may need a surgeon if you want to have something removed. You may need a plastic surgeon, depending on whether you want to have reconstruction or whatnot. I recommend a therapist, right? It's very traumatic. There's a lot of trauma with breast cancer. But last and not least, and really not least, is a breast cancer community. You really want to be part of a community of women that understand you. They have they're going through what you're going through, or they have similar concerns and issues. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. So key number 3, support. Okay, so this, and I put the noun, the state of being supported, and the verb. There's some key words: foundation, withstand, endure, patience. It's just, yeah, it's just so key to our healing. So my question to you is, do you feel fully supported? You know, are you struggling with family and friends, or, as the case may be, lack thereof? A lot of people don't have a lot of family and friends that they can go to. They just are kind of alone with this, that aren't supporting you. Sometimes you even have a good support base, or so you think, but then you might decide you want to do something a little differently. you know, or try some, you know, heaven forbid, you want to try some alternative out of the box type things. And then all of a sudden you find your support base is not there. You know, are you struggling with doctors that don't listen to you? I know, you know, a lot of times that's the case just in the fact that doctors, you know, have you ever had that syndrome where they have like one hand on the doorknob and you're like, and you want to ask questions and whatnot, but you know, they've got one foot out the door kind of thing. Or, you know, in my case, this is also part of advocating. When my second breast cancer surgery, I had to take some evidence to my surgeon, like, because you know, when I talked about seeding breast cancer and I didn't want to have a biopsy done because it might seed it, and he's like, oh, that's a myth, you can't seed breast cancer with a biopsy. And I like pointed out the study that proves that it actually can happen. So it's really hard sometimes to go against the establishment, or you know, doctors that won't even listen. I mean, if you show them a legit study, then they often will listen. He kind of read it and kind of went, you know. But anyway, the good news about that is he agreed to what I wanted. And so that was really all that was important. I'm not about making anybody wrong. I'm just about getting the care that I need. And or are you struggling that you don't trust your gut or your own instincts? This is a big one, you know, for a lot of women. They might even have an, you know, like, oh, I really don't want to do this, or I do want to do that, but they just don't trust their gut. So I would argue you need a supportive community of like-minded women. And this is the part that I alluded to. Studies show that women who have a supportive community have better outcomes and live longer than those that don't. There are, and again, this is, I mean, I don't have like, if you might say, well, what studies? There's a ton of them, but it's just the fact, right? And it kind of makes sense. It's kind of like that when I said, what did all those women have, or not women, it was actually men and women across the board, all kinds of cancers. Like, what did in radical remission, what do they have in common? They all kind of had that drive, support. They all had support. They all had a passion for life, a drive, a reason to stay around. And you could argue there's a lot of Facebook groups out there, but what you really would like or need is an intimate group with whom you meet regularly, in which you can be vulnerable, you can share your common concerns and successes. I mean, that's what's really empowering. As I said, I'm even a part of some of those huge Facebook groups, but I don't usually post in there. I don't know, it just doesn't feel very supportive. And yet I'm also part of a membership community called the Healing Grove, which shout out to them. It's just an incredible group of people, and you know, again, like-minded people, and we can just be vulnerable with each other and share and get through our challenges and successes and everything. So I do have a community, and you know, in this community, what I'm offering is that we are going to meet every week on Zoom, as well as have a private Facebook group. I have a couple of Facebook groups. Well, I have a Facebook page and I have a Facebook group. So you're welcome right now to go to Kicking Breast Cancer with Katie and join my Facebook group, my private group. But then there's even another like private one for the people that are in my course. So that's what I'm offering. That would be a very select group of people. What does it look like to be part of a support community? What is possible? Again, as I sort of alluded to, it's a place to show up as you are. Even if you're a hot mess, you know, just a place to be acknowledged, to be loved and encouraged. I love to give the example of a woman who came to one of my support calls, and she was trying to decide whether or not to go on aromatase inhibitors. But like, she just needed, you know, a sounding board, right? With a support group, people that weren't going to be like, oh, you should, you know, whatever, just that were open to letting her explore and talk it out. And, you know, we all discussed it, of course. But by the end of the call, she was empowered to make her decision and to commit to a healing path. And like, oh my God, it was kind of like they say with bamboo, like she germinated and sprouted. And not only did she go on to be radiant and happy, but she actually just wrote a book, like, you know, I think it's called from Demons to Diamonds or something. It's a really cool title of her breast cancer book. But basically her journey, she wrote a book about it, and she's just like, I don't know, it's just so cool. Like, just that was just sort of one example of what's possible what lies ahead. So your journey will be a roller coaster. And I would argue you need a community to be there through you, both the ups and the downs. I'm on this roller coaster with you. Trust me, some days I'm way up here and other days I'm way down here. And sometimes all you need is just a safe space to share your feelings, and then, you know, your healing can continue. You get validation, you get some love, you move on. Now, fear is instinctual. Just want you all to know that, right? There is something called the reptilian brain. We do have a negativity bias. This is what keeps us safe. This is how we evolved, and we didn't get eaten by the dinosaurs. But we also now live in a different society. We live in a different world, right? And our brain didn't evolve. The reptilian part didn't really evolve. So we now are afraid all the time. We got to reduce that stress, because yeah, the cortisol we know is a bad thing. So I just love you to throw in the chat right now, back to audience participation, on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your level of fear that you won't heal your breast cancer? Or if you're in the case, you know, you haven't had it, you know, so but you're afraid that you get it. Like what is your scale, 1 to 10? Which you either won't heal or that you, okay, you got a 4. That's good. That's not so high. Anyone else? All right, well, just think about it. You don't have to put it in the chat or whatever. Now I want to mixed rate your fear of breast cancer recurrence. Like what number is that? And this is also kind of, if you've ever done tapping, this is what they do at the beginning too. You kind of want to look at your fear level. What are you anxious about, or what's going on? What's your fear level? And the idea of EFT, the goal of it is, after you want to bring that number down, and you could keep doing that. You could keep doing it. And this is something we do in my course. We actually do it. And you want to get it at, you know, as close to a 0 as possible. But what I would say to you is, what that number is going to change, right? From day to day, it's not going to be stagnant. But what would be, I would just ask you, what would be possible if you could keep that number really low or 0? Like, what would your life look like? Okay. Like, what would that kind of peace of mind be to not have that hanging over you? I mean, most of you were pretty low, which is great. It was kind of like a 5. So that's wonderful. That is not super stressful, because that's already, you're doing something right. But I would just say, what would it be if you could actually keep it super low? And I love this slide. Worrying will never change the outcome, right? But that doesn't mean we don't worry. We do. It's hard. It's instinctual, right? But just remember that. I love to keep reminding myself, oh, when I start to worry about something, you know, as I used to say, if there's something you can do about it, do it. If there isn't, then don't worry about it. Like, don't even worry about it, because there's nothing you can do about it. Okay, and I would argue that it's a marathon, not a sprint. And what would your healing journey look like if you had all the knowledge, all the advocacy and support you needed? You know, like, what would that look like? And what is your peace of mind and quality of life worth to you? That's another big question. So here it is that I mentioned at the beginning. Here's my invitation to you. My invitation is to join my 7-week, 90-minute breast health empowerment circle course. In it, I will take a deep dive into the knowledge. I will give you those 3 things you need to heal your breast cancer and prevent a recurrence, or as the case may be, prevent it from ever happening in the first place. And in that process of 7 weeks, you will kind of move from maybe being overwhelmed with what's going on to empowered. You will hopefully move from being afraid to being hopeful, scared to being supported. So if this feels like a fit to you right now, I would say hop on over to katierampin.com. So and in the right hand corner at the top, there's a join now button. You click that, boom, to go. So now what is included? This is where I'm going to talk to you about what's in the course. So can you guys still see my screen? Thumbs up. Yeah, okay. So these are the modules. So the first week is about your healing journey. So understanding your future risk. We talked about some of these things today, because basically I tried to take week 1 and kind of fit it in. I mean, I tried to fit in aspects of this in this whole presentation, but like I said, it's the tip of the iceberg. I go into detail about all these things, and they each one needs a whole hour. Week 2 is nutrition, where you'll learn how to gain energy and vitality and learn how to properly nourish your body with what to eat and drink. We will literally go through what is good, what a good diet looks like, what a diet doesn't look like. We'll go through all the things you should and shouldn't eat and drink. Not that you should ever should on yourself, but you get the idea. Week 3 will be exercise, so that you can learn how to look and feel your best with easy, this is key, easy, stress busting, anti-cancer, fun, right? Can we have fun and do exercise? Yes, we can. I do belly dancing for fun, really, I do. But I want to get something really easy for you that you can commit to doing. Janet's on the call. She knows we bounce together sometimes. She got a rebounder. I have a deal with a company. You can get a discount on getting a rebounder. I argue anyone could bounce for 10 minutes a day, but whatever. There's something you could do every day. Module 4 is sleep. I talked a little bit about it. It's an essential component of our health, and it's often a big challenge, but the quality of sleep matters just as much quantity. So we're going to take a deep dive into this and discover how you can get the proper sleep that you need. Week 5 is detoxifying your home. So you're going to learn how to make your home a safe haven and uncover all the products in the home that might be making you sick and replace them with healthy ones. Week 6 is nourishing your mind. This is a really big one, but you're going to sort of gain that peace of mind and learn. There's so many tools in this toolbox. This is like really big, and like you could do a whole course on just this one alone. I could, whatever. Week 7 then is going to be completion, celebration, intentions. We're going to do kind of a review of everything. We're going to answer all your questions. And it's really important not to just be like, okay, we're done, right? It's really important to celebrate where you are, what you did, and then make some intentions, right? Like what's your plan going forward, right? I don't want this to be a course that you take and stick on the shelf and you don't get the benefits of it. I want you to actually put this into your life. That's why I've made it really simple. And then the last one is, as I said, there's a private Facebook group. You'll also get, I have a video series, 3 things you need to prevent breast cancer. And you should have actually already gotten my 7 steps to a healthier you. Okay, now I'm going to go back to this, and here we go. Here's what's included. You get the 7 weekly 90-minute Zoom calls, and if you can't make it, you will get emails every week, and you'll get an access to the recording, right? So hypothetically, you could do this course and never show up at the time. You will get all the materials in your inbox. You could do this as a course on your own time. But if you want to, I would encourage you to come to the live calls, because they will be, unlike this presentation, I have to fit all this into an hour, so it hasn't been super interactive. Oh, Janet has a hand raised. Yes, go ahead, Janet.
You didn't see my chat. I just signed up.
Oh, you signed up. Oh, thank you, Janet. I didn't. The chat went away. I didn't see it, or I still didn't pop up. Oh, you did. You said that. Sorry. Yay. Okay. Oh, and Doris, yeah, I see your chat now too. And yeah, so I'd love to talk with you, Doris, because making that decision is a big one, and whatever. But again, everybody's individual. Whoa, I went too fast. Okay, so this is what's included. The videos, the PDF, private Facebook group. There will also be a couple other things, and discounting for, extra coaching, special discount to join the membership, etc. Okay, these are your investment options. You can either just do one pay of $297, or you can space it out and do 3 monthly payments of $99. This is kind of a, I have done this course before, but it's still early on, so I'm keeping the price super low. Again, you just go to KatieRampin.com and click join here. And there is a fast action bonus. So Janet, woohoo! You registered by August 31st. You didn't even know this yet. And you get a complimentary 1-hour private coaching call with me to map out your journey, to set your goals up for the course. So you get the most out of the course. I address all your specific needs and questions. Yeah, so it's almost like getting $100 off the course, or you get a free, free consultation. But it's going to be very specific to you. Now, I do want to differentiate that between, at the very end, I will say, if you're on the fence or you have questions, I'm totally open to fielding those questions, and there's no charge for that, obviously. So I'll tell you about how to do that in a second. I'm planning to start the course September 9th, which is a Friday. Tentatively, it would be weekly, 4:30 Pacific. So it would go 4:30 to 6. So it's your Friday evening. And I will just say, I love seeing the success stories of my clients when they advocate for themselves, what they get, what's right for them, when they get cheered on, when they just shine, they're empowered, they're happy. And I want to know what your success story is going to be. So this is the invitation to join me. Here's like frequently asked questions. If you're worried that you can't make every Zoom call, don't worry, because they'll be recorded. You'll never miss anything. If you think the timing's not right, I would say there's no better time. There's never any time, no matter what stage you're in. You want to get clarity and peace of mind right now. And then this is a big one for women. You think you're not worth that investment? I would argue the information and support is priceless, and you are so worth it. Your health is so worth it. I figure I save my clients, I was about to say an S word, a ton of money, right? Because I'm like very frugal, and I have done my own 2 breast cancers. I know lots of tricks. I know lots of deals, ways to do classes for free. I've got references, resources for you, and I've spent 10 years studying this. So I've spent thousands of hours watching documentaries, watching seminars, webinars, taking trainings. It's just, I got a lot there. I'll save you a lot of time, money, hassle. This price is incredibly low for what I'm offering. I'll just put it that way. Like, I hope you see the value of it. But you are so worth it. You would be worth it if it like these other courses that are similar, that are like thousands of dollars, which I just, I know breast cancer is expensive, so I'm not doing that. I'm doing something really, really, really feasible. So, and it's why I did the payment plan. Most people do payment plans and they charge you more for them. I am not charging you more. So you actually continue to pay for the course when it's even over with. So 3 monthly payments of that. So all you have to invest right now is $99. Now, if you're still undecided, I totally get that. Reach out to me. You can use my email, katie@katierampin.com. You can call me on the phone, old fashioned, or you could schedule a Zoom session with me. And I had this link, but I don't have it right now. I will get that link in the chat as well. And I will now stop my share so I can see y'all and ask and open up the floor to any questions. I know, like I said, I know that was a lot, but any questions you have, and let's celebrate Janet for joining the course. Yay. Oh, I did want to mention one other thing. I put on the slide tentatively, I am going to start the course the week after Labor Day weekend. That's for sure. There's a possibility the time might change depending on who's in the course. So I'm going to look at who's in the course, because I've got people in different time zones. I don't think any of my Australians showed up today and whatnot, but I have some people all over the world that were interested in this course. And so that's kind of why I'm doing it Friday evening. That's their Saturday morning, whatever. I have to try to make it work for multiple time zones. But I will, let's just put it this way. I'll try to make it work for you if you join the course. So don't worry too much about the date and time, but the start date is pretty set. I'm definitely going to launch this course. So the fast action bonus, you do have to commit before the end of the month, because then we're starting. Yay. there's my Calendly. You can sign up for an individual, you know, call, 30-minute call with me, and we can suss out, you know, if this course makes sense for you right now, or, you know, but that I will distinguish that again. That's different than, say, the hour-long coaching course, coaching call, which you get, which is like, that's specific to you and your needs, and not about whether you should take the course or not, but it's like, you know, actually diving into the stuff. Janet knows, because I've already been helping her. She's already kind of a client, teehee. And there's my link tree. So that's a great little tool. It links a lot of my different products and services in one place. So anyway, so no questions. You guys are just, oh, well, I get it. It's also Thursday night, so we want to go out and enjoy the evening. Okay, thank you guys so much for showing. I really hope you know, you did. I would just like to know this, if anyone wants to even maybe just put in the chat, but like, what's one takeaway that you got from tonight, right? Maybe you learned one fact. I hope you learned at least one fact. But one thing you learned tonight, or one thing you're going to do now, or I don't know, something, right? Because again, I want this. I really want you to get something out of this, right? I'm really, okay, great. Yay, Jane said, thank you. You're so welcome. I mean, this is what it's all about. I just truly and honestly, I just don't want, the email, I sent an email out, if you got it, you know, like, just never say, I wish I had known, because there are a lot of things I wish I had known. I would have done things differently. And so I just want you to have the information so you have choice. There's so much power in choice. But if we don't know, right, we don't know that sugar is not good. I mean, we know that sugar is not good for us, but did you know it feeds cancer? Like, or if we don't know things.
Katie Doris says she's signing up too. Yay.
Yay. Oh, Doris, wonderful. Welcome to the community. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Well, I'm super excited. I mean, it's gonna be so great. Trust me. Pat's not here. She was gonna. I think she popped in and out. She did it with me the first time around, and she's like, "Oh my God!" She joked. She's like, "The exercise module was the best when I'm sitting there on the rebounder. Like, literally in the Zoom class, I will get on the rebounder with y'all and demonstrate what it is to do some health bouncing. And we talk about the lymphatic system and everything. So there's really a lot. There's really a lot there. But again, I tried to boil it down into 7 weeks and really stretch it out, you know, so that each week you have a focus, and it's baby steps, right? It's all baby steps. You don't want to get overwhelmed, right? Because then you put your head in the sand. So we don't want to put our head in the sand. We want to be empowered. Okay, bye, Janet. Bye, all. I'm here. I'll just hang out if anyone has any questions and they're just shy. In fact, I tell you what, we're going to end the recording.